So something absolutely groundbreaking and humongous came across our desk yesterday afternoon, and it was so groundbreaking and humongous that Peter App, Peter Apple and I, we got it while we were on the show, and we said, you know what? This is way too much for us to do a knee-jerk reaction to. So we're going to give it 24 hours. We're going to come back and we're going to give you our full-fledged thoughts. We're talking about the proposed MLB draft overhaul, the MLB draft, the international signing overhaul. All of that could look very, very different at the conclusion of the next, labor negotiation, the next collective bargaining agreement could lay out a change to amateur baseball as we know it. We've got a whole bunch to get to. We also want to talk about Bryce Eldridge, Colson Montgomery, Byron Buxton had some comments, Mike Trout's on the shelf, and of course our weekend preview. You have all three of us to talk about the MLB draft and the amateur side of things on the Just Baseball show. Peter, it's always brought to us by BetMGM. Do we want to waste much time or we want to get into this?
We can get right into it, but for anyone betting on the World Cup, there's so many great promos. The up to zero promo where you'll automatically win, the share of $500,000 in bonus bets when the United States scores, and of course, all the great stuff happening in MLB. Just a reminder to use promo code JUSTBASEBALL to unlock that first bet offer where you'll get paid up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first wager loses. Let's get straight into it. We have so much to talk about.
Real quick, do you have any interest in watching the United States play soccer today in about 2 hours?
Well, I'm probably going to opt into the promo, so I'm just going to watch from afar to see if those goals were scored by the United States. But I'm hoping they score at least one because that would be monumental in soccer, right, Aram, if they score a goal?
Mike Petriello tweeted this. I thought it was gold. It's like soccer is the only sport where teams could tie 0-0, and it's like the best day in the history of the country for Cape Verde. Cape Verde, how do you say that? I don't even know. I'm not a big soccer guy, though I am starting to dial into the World Cup. You can get me in the knockout stage, but the promo is great. I'll check the box score after.
Yeah.
Guys, just try watching it. It's literally right after we get off. I mean, you guys we can upload the audio, we can do the quotes, and we can watch the soccer game. So just try it. I don't know.
I'll text you the second I tap out. I'll be honest too.
Perfect. That totally works. I would love to see you get past the 30th minute. Does that work?
Yeah, I won't be texting about the World Cup. We got College World Series on this weekend, MLB stuff. There's just no shot I'm turning the game on.
Time to talk about the biggest story in Major League Baseball right now, and it has nothing to do with what is happening on the field of play. The Major League Amateur Draft could look a heck of a lot different during the next collective bargaining agreement. Also, the international scouting cycle could look a heck of a lot more different as well. The initial tweets, first from Alden Gonzalez yesterday, Major League Baseball has proposed an international draft, just like it did during the last round of talks. This one is for roughly the same money, but significantly fewer slots. Another big change, the minimum age would be 18 years old. Jeff Passan then followed up and talked about the amateur draft and said Major League Baseball today proposed an overhauled domestic amateur entry system that removes high school players from the draft, makes college players eligible after their sophomore season, shortens the draft from 20 to 12 rounds, and cuts bonus pools from current $359 million to $200 million, sources tell ESPN. So Passan and Kylie McDaniel collaborated on an article that is kind of a whatever you need primer on this new domestic and international draft and signing overhaul. And the big points here are that all draft picks can be traded, but everything that was laid out from Alden and from Passan. So you would have a cut of the domestic draft, and it was already cut. In 2020, they had 5 rounds. Coming out of 2020, they had 20 rounds. Before that, they had 40 rounds. A decade before that, you could go as long as you wanted. Piazza was like a 62nd or 55th round pick, whatever he was. He was a favored draft pick. There were favors in every round for the final 5 rounds. You kept going until you ran out of names on your board, and it was all right. Now we're talking about the fewest jobs ever being available for amateur baseball players jumping into professional baseball. And we're talking about that domestically and international-wise. Aram, I want to start with you. Just where does your mind go when you see both of these? Do you skew more domestic or international with this?
Domestic. And I just think it's interesting. I get that they're similar things here, and so I guess they can be intertwined, but I think it's fascinating that these are going to be bundled together because I think they're two completely different situations that need a lot of different levers and variables to be pulled and things to understand there. But just with the domestic side, like the part that really makes me uncomfortable is, and I think it's been kind of clear from all sides here, like that the league's plan here with this proposal is to outsource the early development to college baseball. And on the surface, you could say, oh, that makes sense. And at the end of the day, playing to win is a fundamental aspect that could actually help players in their development. Here's the problem. NCAA still is trying to figure out how to navigate this NIL era. You have players transferring more than ever before. And also, I just have no faith in NCAA being able to run things properly ever. And we're saying we're going to outsource to a worse organization that does a horrible job with a lot of things. I mean, the Sorsby situation recently was a nightmare. Like it never really ends with NCAA. And we already have a lot of challenges and I think things to work through in college baseball. And you saw UCLA's coach, John Savage, talk about this. And it's even more, I think, of a point to him where he said this would make it even more polarizing in the sport. I think there's a lot of things to unpack. We're going to talk about Bryce Eldridge here in a little bit, who would just now be draft eligible or wouldn't be draft eligible until after this year. This guy's in the show.
I think he would have been draft eligible, but Connor Griffin would be finishing up his sophomore season right now, and he would be going number 1 overall in this draft.
Like, there's a lot of things to unpack, especially, and I'm always going to be against what I think is this is a start to kickstarting, even shrinking the minor leagues even more. There's so many different areas, but the first and foremost place for me is outsourcing player development to the NCAA and to college coaches who understandably are hell-bent on winning. I think that part's being lost here. Quinn Matthews was asked to throw 156 pitches for Stanford in the Super Regional a month before the draft. That's not player development.
And on top of it too, speaking about outsourcing the development, instead of getting drafted out of high school, you would be forced to go to college. And Aram, to your point about these college coaches wanting to win, a lot of these freshmen don't play. Like one of the coaches in the SEC even noted in Passan's article that it's really hard to compete in a grown man's league like the SEC when you're consistently playing freshmen. However, it is funny that we're talking about it at this current moment when Oklahoma is in the College World Series and their 3 weekend starters are all freshmen. However, that was a change because the quote unquote grown men, the juniors and the seniors, weren't doing their job, which is why they made that change. So a lot of high school players, they would go directly to college, and a lot of them, maybe not the cream of the crop, the best freshmen in the country, but 95% of them are just going to sit on the bench. So instead of getting a big time bonus, getting drafted in the first, second, or third round and going into the minor leagues, refining your skills, you are going to go to college where you're going to sit on the bench for the majority of your first season. That doesn't sound like development to me.
So Aram and I were talking about this a little bit last night, and we were talking about the possible ripple effect that this would have if you mandate college baseball. And the structure in place right now is if you go to a Division I, Division II, or Division III school, then you have to spend 3 years at that college level unless you're a draft eligible sophomore. I believe that's when you turn 21 years old as a sophomore. So then you would be eligible, like Leiter. Leiter was a draft eligible sophomore. I don't know the exact criteria for a draft eligible sophomore, but that is the rule for D1, D2, and D3. You wonder if that has any impact on the junior college ranks or the NAIA ranks. So junior college baseball could get better, and you could have guys try and find that loophole and bypass that 2-year obligation and go to junior college, get drafted after your first year, a la Bryce Harper, go to the College of Southern Nevada. NAIA could also get better like that as well. But sticking on the domestic side, and the international side is a whole different conversation, and we're furthering the conversation there. But the domestic side, it's just so weird when you're talking about losing jobs. I mean, what we talk about as a society constantly is job creation. And when we're talking about kids achieving dreams and trying to get into pro baseball and muscling your way to the big leagues, it becomes harder and harder and harder. So now instead of 20 rounds and you've got a 15th round pick that blossoms as a reliever and they get to the show or they get to AA or AAA and the dream is becoming real, you've got 12 rounds. Everybody else is signing for 10 grand as a non-drafted free agent signing. And you're just playing with house money. Like everybody else turns into Peyton Eels. which, like, credit to Peyton Eales for even forcing a conversation of possibly being a big leaguer. But it's really freaking hard when you don't have a draft round attached to your name to climb up minor league ranks. Also on Aram's point, in this ESPN article, they acknowledged that there would be no contraction of minor league baseball. Like, every single affiliate would stay after the, I guess, like, ownership of these teams, or what's it called? The development license. Like, after
the
this
development
license
it is
yeah,
what they
so
call it.
after this development license expires, you effectively sign a 10-year deal for the Fort Wayne Tin Caps to be a development affiliate of the San Diego Padres. So after this license is up in minor league baseball, they're saying there would be no contraction. Who's playing low A baseball then? If we go to 12 rounds and you mandate college baseball, is low A just the DSL plus 2 levels? Is the complex just the DSL plus 1 level? It's hard for me to wrap my brain around who's playing where in the lower levels. And this is just all kind of convoluted. So I guess I have way more questions and very few answers when it pertains to this.
And we're already struggling right now. I think when you look at the Arizona Complex League and the Florida Complex League, like, pitching is as barren as ever in those leagues. Like, we kind of need more talent there. And those are fundamental development points for a lot of different players too. And like, I keep going back to the development side though, where in spring training, and instructionals and all of these times, the sole focus for these players is development. And then even through the lower levels, especially, it's all about development. I'm sure some teams, you quote unquote want to win, but that's the number one thing. Every time we talk to players when they get to the show, what's the biggest difference? We need to win now. Like, all that matters is doing something that helps the team win. Whereas before, it's all about what I need to do, in terms of just developing and becoming a better player. When you are in college, when you're going to be competing for a job, which I think inherently can be a good thing, but all you're focused on in the fall is competing for a job, and then you either win or don't win that job. It's, again, all about that side of things. Whereas you don't have a director of player development to work with you. You don't have a whole team of people that are just focused on you improving as a player. And yes, playing will help you do that. But as Peter alluded to, even some of the best freshmen don't immediately play. And if you struggle out of the gate, to the bench for a different player, for a transfer that they gave NIL money to, that's a junior, whatever it may be. In low A, if you struggle, you're in there again every day. And that is very important for development. You could go 0 for 20, but still be in the lineup the next day. That ain't going to happen in college baseball. And I know I could hear like some like people being like, well, it shouldn't be that way. You got to perform. I could show you so many guys that have been putrid through the first year or two of their professional career and figure it out and turn into fantastic players because they were able to go out there and play every single day and get the at-bats that they need. And also, like, there's an argument that college is good for some people, but I also think that there's an argument that life-changing money for players and their families is also good for some people. And yes, NIL helps. This ain't football NIL. Maybe a few players will get that amount. But if you're a guy that was maybe going to go in the 6th round and could have got over slot for $500,000, what's that guy going to get in NIL? Is it going to change his family's life?
$70,000 to $80,000. It's you're not sniffing what you would have gotten in the draft.
And it's also so ironic that the owner's claim is that going to college is going to be better for the development. But Passan also noted in the article that the 12 biggest contracts given out in MLB history, only one went to college. So it's clear that, I mean, these are freak talents, of course, maybe if they went to college, maybe if they didn't, who knows, but they got their start earlier in the minor leagues, got up to the major leagues sooner, and then made huge amounts of money. What do you think the owners want to stop from happening? Guys getting to free agency earlier and then making a shit ton of money.
For however many Corey Seagers you have, there are a billion other high school first-round picks that flame out and never make it.
Yep.
Think about Austin Kendrick. Was that the Red?
Austin Hendrick.
Oh,
hey, he just got to AAA. He's hanging out. He's doing okay.
Okay, cool.
But no, I mean, it's a good point, though, Austin Hendrick.
Here's the thing. Here is the crux of that conversation. The reason you would incentivize college baseball from a team and organization perspective is it's just less risky.
Yeah.
High school baseball players have so much inherent risk attached to them. You have no idea what an 18-year-old kid is going to look like when he's 22 years old. You know what a 21-year-old kid is going to look like when he's 23 years old. It is a more risk-averse setup. If you mandate that kids go to college and spend 2 years post high school figuring it out who they are as baseball players, it's part of the beauty of the baseball amateur ranks. Like, there's some guesswork that plays in there.
Yeah.
And I think that is an absolutely humongous thing.
And I want to just put an exclamation mark on Peter's point. And I think this is a huge part of this whole equation is, yeah, they don't want to see guys hitting free agency at 26, 27 years old. Of course not, because they don't want to see another Juan Soto deal given out. Of course, they want to suppress these contracts to a degree. And if guys are hitting free agency at 29, 30, it's going to change things. And that's the biggest thing is I don't think this is ultimately going to get pushed through and there's going to be a lot of back and forth. But if some semblance of this gets pushed through, then we got to totally adjust the years of control aspect as well. Like, you can't have both. And so that's got to be knocked down from 6 to 5 or 4 because we already have so many players because of how often we see these late bloomers. Like, how many different late bloomers do we continue to see? Guys that are at 26, 27 years old, figuring it out and making an impact at the big league level. Those guys are already screwed. Like, those guys are going to, in terms of free agency, going to be 33 years old by the time they hit free agency. And now, even if you're a semi-late bloomer, you're going to be in trouble now as well. So I feel like players deserve the opportunity to make the choice. I always think about Davis Schneider. Davis Schneider, he made it to the big leagues, right? He had minimal interest in going to college. He signed for $50,000. He wanted to just get his pro career started. He's a fantastic dude. He's a smart guy. I don't think he would be any better off had he went to college. He had some really rough times in the lower levels, and then he played consistently. Even started to actually see his playing time wane a little bit. If he had struggled in college, he would have never had this opportunity. Figured it out, and now he's in the big leagues and has had success, And so that guy signed for $50,000 because he wanted to go and start his pro career. Guys should have the choice and the opportunity to decide if they want to do that.
I think the only winners here are the owners and the business of college baseball. Yes. Everyone else is pretty much a loser on the domestic side, which then I think turns us over to the international draft. And I know on the international side, there's a lot of scummy stuff happening, right? Where, teams are scouting players at 12, 13 years old. Some of the coaching, guys are dropping out of school really, really early. There's the age dilemma. Is he really that old? Guys are committing fraud basically down there. That one is a lot tougher. The international draft sounds good in theory, but what are your guys' thoughts on the international side?
Yeah, and the last thing I wanted to mention, just to tie a bow, is like if John Savage at UCLA is saying that this would create more of a ripple in effects into college baseball, where the 80% of college baseball could end up being kind of knocked off to the side anyways, I think that's something that should also be said too. It may sound good to have all this talent coming in theory, but it may not always just paint the perfect picture too, and there may be more complications that come with that. On the international draft, some of the immediate feedback I got from people that work in the international side was that there's a lot of reason to be bullish on figuring out how to regulate this as much as possible. The league has always kind of said and thrown their hands up and been like, it's just too deep rooted. I don't know what you want us to do about it. And I can maybe understand that to a degree, because there's a lot going on there and there's a lot of levels of things to work out. I mean, there's a lot of different people that are getting paid for the success and the signings of these international free agent players at 15, 16 years old. And that development process for those people may start with these kids at 8, 9 years old. And you've seen the stories put out on ESPN of kids dying from steroids because who knows what they're injecting them with. And how prevalent that issue is, who knows? One time is already too many. And I think we can confidently say that that's not the only time that it's happened. Will this stop all of that? No, but like, instead of just saying, oh, what are we going to do about it? Like, at least this is a process here. The other side is, if you combine all of the bonus pools from this year, it was about $208 million, and this is $200 million. So this doesn't seem like as much of a cost-cutting measure as the amateur draft, the domestic draft side of it. So I obviously need to be educated more on that, and I'd love to talk to more people that are out there in the Dominican and in these other countries and doing it. But from the initial understanding is this does seem like at least it's a step towards getting things in control a little bit to also like not have these weird broken deal situations where teams are screwing these kids over as well, who owe money to people because of whether it's loan sharks. Like there's so many complicated things where teams pull out last minute, the whole Roki Sasaki, the ripple effect of that, it affects these kids or they have people representing them that shouldn't be. Like there's so many things that this would help. And I'm sure there's some drawbacks as well that I would need to learn more about, but this one seems a little bit more clear towards fixing some very obvious issues.
Yeah, long term, it is the thing that Major League Baseball has wanted implemented in like other teams, or I guess just like organizations have wanted implemented for quite some time. I mean, we've heard the concept of the international draft for years at this point, and it is lasted beyond a couple of CBAs, right? We could go back to 2 collective bargaining agreements ago, and we're talking about the idea of the international draft and kind of spreading the wealth, literally and figuratively, in terms of international talent that is available. And you've got the draft, so you have like odds to get the best player in the international space. The thing that jumps out to me is the age push from 16 to 18, because it creates this backlog of talent there. And like long term, I can understand why it makes sense. But in the short term, we could see the next 8 to 10 years heavily affected by this being pushed back too. And what do I mean by that? Take a peek at what happened to college football and college basketball through the lens of COVID. How many 7th years? Like Hunter Dickinson was in college basketball way longer than he should have been. And you laugh and smile, Peter, but like,
no, it's right. True.
And he took a scholarship away from a kid at Kansas. Like
the reason why I'm laughing is because it's true. I mean, Hunter Dickinson was at Kansas for a decade, almost. Right. And taking away scholarship money. You're totally right.
It seems like you've got 5 kids per college football program that you're saying, buddy, go get a job. Oh my gosh. Like that's the thing, man. So you have this backlog where all of a sudden you're dealing with this number crunch, and you're going to deal with this for the next 8 to 10 years. I have no idea what the fix is there. It sounds like there is concepts of a plan in place to mitigate that. But man, it's going to be really hard to deal with all of the immediate changes that come in the international side. The domestic side is pretty easy. You're just cutting a ton of money. And I don't know, that's a conversation that you guys can have. You're just cutting the bonus pool collectively for Major League Baseball in half, to the point of Passan's initial tweet. With international free agency, you're obviously not cutting the pool, to Aram's point. You're cutting it by $7 million. That's whatever. It's just a matter of the numbers making sense in terms of pushing the restriction from 16-year-olds to 18-year-olds. What happens now?
Could I ask you guys just a quick question on this too? And I feel like it's going back to your original point about the lower levels really feeling the grunt of this. The DSL, those younger guys like 17, 16, not only on the domestic side would it hurt the lower levels, in the international side, wouldn't it as well?
I'm trying to think of what that would look like. Because are you going to want an 18-year-old player then in the DSL? Probably not. You got to get him going now, right? Like it's going to be time to get him over to at least the complex league and potentially, towards low A sooner rather than later. So I would imagine that it may end up kind of cutting away at the DSL and those academies. But that also is, I think, such an important part in the development for a lot of these players too, so that they don't have to just go straight to the States and play professional baseball. You can ease into professional baseball still in the Dominican Republic, and then work your way towards that, being able to make the leap stateside and make that adjustment. But I would imagine that it would have to have some sort of impact that way, because you're not going to have, and I know a lot of guys, the really top performers, they'll skip the complex league to go DSL low A, or some guys that they're so impressed with, they'll just go straight to the complex league then low A. But it's a process that I think will make things a lot more difficult on the international player as well. And I think it'll speed up the timeline for them too.
These are just major, major cost saving proposals. It just seems like the winners are the owners and the business of college baseball, and everybody else loses. That's how it reads to me after our conversation and after reading that article twice from Jeff Passan, because this stuff and being a doctor are things that the toughest areas of baseball for me, where I'm just trying to learn. But from all these talks, yeah, there's no way this goes through. I mean, this seems ridiculous.
It's wild that we're trying to reinvent the wheel here on
Yeah.
player development and all these things when we already have a huge thing that we still are going to need to work through, which is the salary cap conversation. And it's like, all right, well, here's another fire to put out over here that we're going to create. But we still have this gigantic blaze over here too that we're just going to ignore until it starts to encroach on our homes, essentially, which is just the way that they always like to structure this thing. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like it's going to ultimately not be much of a conversation for the PA. And I am fascinated to see how that ultimately develops and what the counter will be and what the conversations will be. But I mean, it's just another variable in these conversations that I just don't think needed to go this far right away.
This was a pretty heavy conversation. Can we open a card pack? Just have some fun before we get into our regular topics. So we just started with Arena Club. And for someone like me who doesn't really know how to collect cards, right? I don't really know where to find all the card shops. I've talked to Aram so many times about like how to get into the hobby. But the problem is I'm always on the road. Like we travel all the time. And I also just don't know what cards to buy. So when I was introduced to Arena Club, I'm like, okay, perfect. It's on my phone. I can rip packs wherever. They have a marketplace. They have information about the cards. And even after you rip a pack, they will show you what the value is, which is another thing that I just don't understand. I can't just text Aram, give me all the information on all this kind of stuff. That's not going to work. So Arena Club does it for me, and that's why it's a fantastic app. And right now, let's just open a card pack. Unless Aram, you want to talk about Arena Club as well?
I was going to say the one other thing that is big is that it's so difficult for someone getting into the hobby to know what they should send to get graded, and obviously getting it in a graded slab is huge. All of the cards that you're going to pull in Arena Club are going to be in slabs already, which I think is a huge part of it, especially with PSA shut down right now on submissions.
That's another thing too. I get a card. I'm so happy for it. And then I'm like, all right, in order to have resell value, I got to go send it off to another company. And then it takes like a month
more
to get it back.
Way more.
Exactly. Like, why don't I just have them all organized in one place and graded and the information on my phone? Let's open a pack right now.
Let's see what you got.
P, would you mind live streaming from my phone? Let's open a freaking pack. Let's do it. I'm so excited. It's also so much fun. All right, here we go. We're opening a $50 pack. Let's see what we get. Come on.
There was a $50 pack.
Has some fun players.
It's cool. It's good graphics. Okay. Is that Mickey Mantle?
Doesn't look like Mickey Mantle.
It's Jackie Jensen.
Jensen?
Can someone look this up? First of all, I think he won an MVP. I don't know the year, but in the back of my mind, I feel like he won an MVP. Can somebody fact check me on that?
1957 Topps Jackie Jensen. That is a cool one though. Like that's the cool thing is you can get like a modern prospect card. You could get a vintage card.
But I love the history, so that's why I don't mind the old time cards. Like I have a ticket from a Yankees Braves World Series that I think is really cool. Like I want to collect the old cards just as much as I want to collect the prospects.
You know what? Jackie Jensen, 154 games in 1958. Peter Rappel, he did win his MVP. Hit 286 with 35 jacks and 122 driven in.
Wow.
And this was a high walk rate, low K guy. In 58, he walked 15% of the time, K'd fewer than 10% of the time. Good for Jackie Jensen, man. Nicknamed the Golden Boy.
And so vintage cards will always age well. So you just put that one in your pocket and let it appreciate.
So I just spent $50, got to open a fun pack as quickly as possible. It is graded and it is in my portfolio now. And Jackie Jensen, MVP, 3-time All-Star, 1950 World Series champ, and he won a Gold Glove. Career about 28 B-WAR, 120 OPS plus. Sure. Thank you, Arena Club. And if you want to get involved too, use code JustBaseball. You'll get 20% off your first pack. Absolute no-brainer. You can find the link in the episode description.
And most importantly, if you want it sent to you, they'll actually send you the physical card, or you could just sell it. They're just basically, they'll hold it for you in the meantime.
Yeah, they just hold it for you, which is perfect. It doesn't get lost in the clutter. They'll hold it for you. And when you want it and you're ready for it, there it is.
Thanks.
So Jackie Jensen's 120 OPS plus compared to Bryce Eldridge's career 146 OPS plus. I'll take Eldridge right now. Now, granted, Eldridge has a long way to go before he wins an MVP and puts together more than a decade in Major League Baseball. But Bryce Eldridge has been absolutely freaking insane. So far this year, Eldridge has been very good, hitting .319 with a .962 OPS and 131 plate appearances. Bryce Eldridge, over his last 25, hitting north of .380 with an 1,100 OPS. And Aram Layton, you made the point. Eldridge is somehow figuring out how to walk as much as he's punching out. Over his last 104 plate appearances, I think it's just 17 punch-outs. That's a 15% K rate. This is a different looking guy than even the good version of Eldridge that I feel like you might have been forecasting.
Insane. I've never seen a stretch like this from him really in the minors. And obviously we've seen stretches of him being dominant in the minor leagues. He had a home run barrage through a point in 25. That was crazy. But the selectivity and the lack of strikeouts is a total shift. I mean, we're looking in the minor leagues. In 2025, he struck out 29% of the time. In AAA this year, in 30 games, he was striking out 30% of the time. This is a clear case where something clicked at the big league level. I talked about it briefly in the call-up. I did see a little bit more like of I would say stillness to his head. He's such a tall guy with such long legs. He was starting more upright and really sinking down and then pushing out. And I felt like his head was moving a lot. Now he's a little bit more preset. He's not moving as much, but it doesn't seem like a major change. And he has just gone crazy. Clearly something has clicked for him. I can't wait. I'm going to ask him tomorrow when the Marlins play him and San Francisco comes to town here. But the biggest thing that I noticed is just a small adjustment in terms of how much he's moving and moving up and down with his torso and his base. And I think just being a little bit more still when you have freakazoid power and just being able to get your swing off most consistently and not move your head as much. Maybe that's all it took for a guy with elite power to get into it. I just can't believe how much he has improved the bat to ball in this stretch and the swing decisions.
Since May 4th, since he debuted, he's a top 10 hitter in the game, period, by WRC+. And among players with his slugging percentage or higher at .558, he's one of 4 players with a strikeout rate below 20%. Right. And you're joining, and that slugging percentage in that time frame is higher than guys like Juan Soto, Nick Kurtz, and Shohei Ohtani. And I made a video about him, and I might have been freaking out a little bit. You guys know how I sometimes become a prisoner of the moment when I turn on the games and I get really excited about a player. And I called him the best 21-year-old baseball player in the world. And that made a lot of people wince a little bit because most notably, Kevin McGonigal is 21 years old. Samuel Basallo is 21 years old. Now, when I compare him to Basallo, at least early returns, who knows what could happen with their careers. But Bryce Eldridge is the much better hitter than Samuel Basallo. We're looking at a 168 WRC plus, 68% better than a league average hitter compared to Basallo at 117. When you look at their F-WARs, Eldridge has already topped Basallo in half the amount of games. Now, McGonigal is a different beast because such elite plate discipline. I mean, he's like one of the most disciplined hitters in Major League Baseball, period, at 21 years old. And he's already got that 3.1 F-WAR. He's been playing really good defense, obviously has a longer track record. But watching Bryce Eldridge hit, I'm thinking to myself, I don't really want that many more guys over him. And so that's a debate. That's a debate, what I said. But I don't think it's crazy to say that right now he's the best 21-year-old baseball player in the world.
I'm pro McGonigal.
Yeah.
But I think ceiling-wise, if he's punching out less than 20% of the time, Eldridge.
Yeah, I mean, walking 14% of the time, 13.8.
Yeah, that's where it's been remarkable in terms of what can be there. This is one of the conversations. Like we talked to Samuel Basallo earlier in the year. That one was pretty obvious, though. Like you could just see he was kind of the opposite. Like he was starting like too much in his base and pushing out of it. And I was like, I kind of had my questions locked and loaded. I kind of knew what he was going to say. I just wanted to hear him say it in his words and getting more upright and holding his weight back. With Eldridge, it's such a subtle difference that I don't even know if you can attribute it to that. I'm sure it's a combination of things, but I can't wait to talk to him about it. The biggest thing is I've always referred to Eldridge as like a baby draft, right? And this was a two-way guy as an amateur, 6'7", 21-year-old. Of course, it's going to take some time to really get in control of your body and kind of figure out exactly how your body wants to move and how to optimize your swing. It's just amazing how it just snapped like that in the middle of the season. And if he can continue to make this happen and keep this rolling, I mean, this is a huge development for the Giants, no matter what happens with their season.
And comparing to another 21-year-old 6'7" monster in James Wood, it's night and day the difference of plate discipline at the plate. Aram, you're talking about controlling those long limbs. I mean, James Wood was leading the league in strikeouts a year ago, and he's still striking out a ton. While Bryce Eldridge is much more controlled. And again, that's what gets me so excited, is I see these 6'7" behemoths figure it out and instantly become some of the best players in baseball. And I feel like Bryce Eldridge figured it out way earlier. And again, right now he's a top 10 hitter in baseball. That's why I felt, wait a minute, he might end up be better than Kevin McGonigal, because the offensive production might just be so much, where McGonigal is just an 825 OPS guy for the rest of his life. And he's just an incredible player. But Bryce Eldridge is putting up 950 OPSs and hitting 40 jacks. Yeah. That's the difference. And even WRC plus wise so far, again, Eldridge has that 30-point gap over McGonigal right now. It's so early. I'm just quantifying it right now.
McGonigal's
43 games.
I think 5 DRS at third base and 4 DRS at shortstop.
Yeah. It is such a floor versus ceiling conversation, and it really only is an offensive conversation right now, because the defensive edge will always go to Kevin McGonigal.
Hey, 1 outs above average at first for Eldridge. Just saying.
Nice.
He's got one already.
Happy for Bryce. But McGonigal, it is a floor versus ceiling conversation, and the floor ceiling combination of McGonigal is just better than Eldridge. That's my firm take. I stand very solidly on the McGonigal side, but I can appreciate what you're putting down on Eldridge.
I'm saying he's making it a conversation. Is that fair?
That's
making
fair.
It a conversation.
If he hits 40, and which I think he can. The big thing I'm interested to see with Eldridge is, like, all of a sudden now, all right, this is the guy you're game planning for. How does he respond when they start to, maybe try to bust him in more or find a little bit of a weakness? I mean, with Wood, it was like the depthy breaking balls that he could just kind of struggle to stay on. I'm fascinated to see that, because now all of a sudden Bryce Eldridge is the guy you're looking at when you're playing the Giants, saying we can't let him beat us right now.
While Eldridge is probably playing Fortnite in his hotel room, should Devers and Adames go knock on the door and be like, can we get some help?
That works.
Yeah,
that works. Another guy playing Fortnite in his hotel room, probably because he just turned, 24 years old. He's a young 24. But Colson Montgomery, what he is doing with the Chicago White Sox is absolutely insane. Montgomery in 70 games so far this year has 20 homers and 45 RBIs and 841 OPS. It is nearly a carbon copy of what he was doing last year in 71 games. Just ridiculous what he's doing. The average within 10 points of where he was, the OBP up by 15 points, the slug just a little bit under, in 841 OPS in 70 games this year, and 840 OPS in 71 games last year. In his first 141 Major League Baseball games, not only has he racked up 6 BWAR at this point, but he's hitting .235 with 41 homers and 100 driven in 141 games. This is maybe the best start to a lefty hitting shortstop's career offensively that we've seen in a long time. And I saw the note, I don't think a single left-handed hitting shortstop has ever hit 40 homers. This left-handed hitting shortstop might be able to hit 40 homers in a major league season. Just insane, the type of ability that Montgomery has and how it is all clicking for him right now.
Yeah, just on that point, Jack, real quick about the only lefty. There has been no lefty to ever hit 40 home runs at the shortstop position. It's only been done 12 times, and most of that is just Alex Rodriguez and Ernie Banks. So we're approaching territories that we just haven't seen. Since Colson Montgomery debuted, only 2 players have more home runs than him. Kyle Schwarber and Nick Kurtz. Shohei Ohtani is one behind him. Aram, what do you think about him?
This is a player that, not to make it about me, but I think this might be one of the worst predictions I've ever had. I thought he wouldn't hit enough, and he's striking out 30% of the time, but it doesn't matter because he's slugging. He's a 129 WRC plus in 71 games last year, and it's a 129 WRC plus in 70 games this year. It's still early, but like he's doing it and just continues to do it. 21 homers last year, 20 homers this year. He has just continued to be exactly what he was in his breakout rookie season last year. I didn't think he'd hit enough, and I didn't love the defense at short. And both things, that's the biggest thing too. It's like if you told me, hey, he's going to strike out 30% of the time, but this big dude is going to run into enough power, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I get that. I could see him succeeding in the 3 true outcome side. If you said he does that and he's defending at a high clip, I don't care what you like, even if you don't, and I don't love OAA for infielders, but if it's 8 outs above average, he's doing something right. And if it's still even just net neutral DRS at 0, you average those out, he's an above average defender comfortably. And then at third base, he's been great as well when they ask him to go play over there. Total misread on my part. He's been so much better than I ever would have imagined. And he ain't done getting better, right? Like you wonder if like the approach will just continue to develop. Like you can still get a little bit aggressive. And that was the other reason I was like, whiff and chase, that might come back to get him. It doesn't matter because the slug on contact is so ridiculous. I think that the swing decisions will continue to get a little bit better, and he'll get to a point to where that OBP starts to creep higher. And that's where it'll get pretty scary. Because right now, I mean, he's kind of in that Santander range where like you got to slug 500 to get the OPS over 800, well over 800 because it's about a 320 OBP, but it doesn't matter because he slugs so ridiculously well. This has been such a huge development for the White Sox, a huge development success for them because there were some ebbs and flows as they pushed him aggressively. And I mean, big reason why you can be bullish on the White Sox future.
And I posted about him yesterday, and White Sox fans let me know that Ozzie Guillen has still been a critic of Colson Montgomery. And I'm thinking to myself, how can you be a critic of Colson Montgomery right now? He's a 24-year-old shortstop playing borderline elite defense, and he's 3rd in homers since he debuted. But he did bring up a couple of good points. Number one, again, like what Aram said, there still is a lot of swing and miss in his game. He hasn't been great against breaking balls. He's hitting below 200, which again happens to a lot of young hitters. But number 3, and I think this was Guillen's main point, he's hitting below 200 with runners in scoring position. So a lot of his big time hits haven't really come with runners in scoring position. I'm sure Ozzie Guillen is more concerned with the White Sox winning and playing, good fundamental baseball, moving the runner over. But that is something that needs to be worked on. I mean, if you're hitting in the middle of the lineup, they need you to hit above 200. It's one thing to hit 235. That's already not great, but you can withstand it if you're hitting a bunch of bombs. If you're hitting below 200 when you're hitting 3rd or 4th in the order, that is a problem. However, he's 24. He's played 140 career games. There will be some problems. He's not a perfect player. But what we can look at right now is he has the potential to be the first left-handed shortstop to ever hit 40 homers, and he's a good defender. That's what I want to focus on.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll mention is like the runners in scoring position wrinkle. I think if you're a chase and whiff guy, and that's a spot where pitcher hunkers down and is going to try to get you to get yourself out and really execute more carefully, that's where things can start to work against you. But he's right at like the 67% contact rate threshold. As long as Colson's north of 65, I think he's going to continue to be productive.
Yeah, I agree.
Actually, we got a couple more things rapid fire before we get to the weekend preview, which is presented by Pickett. Mike Trout, he hits the injured list. Trout is on the shelf with an hamstring issue. Unfortunately, this comes for Trout, who had played in 74 of the Angels' 75 games so far this year. Trout, in 74 games, was leading the American League with 54 runs scored, hitting .234 with a .390 on-base percentage and .866 OPS. He had 12 doubles and 17 homers. And the stolen base was becoming more and more of a thing. It was the most stolen bases he had in a season since he stole 11 in 134. He was 7 for 7 in that department. So Mike Trout hits the injured list. This Angels season just got a heck of a lot worse, and it was already really tough. Christian Moore getting recalled was the corresponding move, but for Trout, man, it just sucks. Like, I have nothing fun and exciting and optimistic to add about this. I wish I could tell you about Christian Moore. Just sucks the Trout's on the IL again.
Yeah, Christian Moore is playing really well. And developing in AAA as he should have. So seeing the swing decisions better from Christian Moore. He's hitting for power. The average is better. The defense, they're playing him at third a little bit. So I think this will be a different, hopefully a better version of Christian Moore. It's just not the way you want to see him come up. Trout did say that he's not too concerned about it, and he already felt better the next day. But Trout's always kind of been the guy that'll try to undersell the concerns there. So we'll see. I know they've filtered him through the DH, but you mentioned like he's played almost every single game this year. I'm just surprised we haven't seen a couple more scheduled off days. And I know he's Mike Trout, and I know that's probably up to him. And he's saying, I feel great. I want to be in there every single day. And that's why Mike Trout is great. But with the hamstring thing and right in the middle of the season, I just wonder if there should be a little bit more precaution for a guy that, has struggled to stay on the field to have that scheduled off day, like so many other vets have, like all the time, especially with Trout playing center field all the time, aside from the 11 games he DH'd.
And here's my concern with his comments talking about him feeling better. Acuna said the same thing. And now his timetable is even longer too. So it's like these guys can say they feel better, but then it's about the doctors and they're not just going to, push him through if he's feeling better. It's, about the imaging and stuff. So it just sucks. No other way to put it. It's just bad for baseball when Mike Trout isn't playing.
Peter, you wanted to talk about a trade here, and I'm putting it on you because I could have done away with this one. Joey Bart goes from the Pirates to the Atlanta Braves for Hunter Stratton, who goes back to the Pirates, the team he debuted with. Stratton was DFA'd, so it's a Bart for Stratton swap.
I can't believe
a couple of big leaguers.
I can't believe the disrespect for the number 2 overall pick in the draft and a reliever that has been throwing innings in his career. I did tweet out. I am intrigued. Crazier has happened by the Braves catching lab. If you went anywhere else, maybe I'm not as intrigued.
Define catching lab. Define catching lab.
The Braves' ability to see talent at the catching position, all of the incredible guys that they have drafted from Baldwin, getting Sean Murphy, Shea Langeliers. There's a number of them. And they now bringing in Joey Bart. They clearly did it for a reason. Why in the world would you be targeting Joey Bart unless you think you can get something out of him? Hunter Stratton used to be with the Pirates, put up a 23 ERA with them, I think, in a half season. But he's put together better seasons in the past. This is a trade that should be talked about on the Baseball show. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on. William Contreras was better at catcher after he left.
Yes, he got better with the Brewers.
Shea Langeliers got better with the Athletics.
Well, he didn't have enough time with Atlanta. You don't think the Braves have an ability to see catching talent? Am I on an island here?
Well, I think they would have kept William if they knew that.
Well, they did make a pretty damn good trade there.
They did. Murphy was already good, though.
Murphy was already good, and you could make the argument that he has kind of taken a downturn since joining Atlanta. He can't stay on the field right now.
Yeah,
he has been hurt.
I mean, that's not really.
But it's also a 737 OPS with the Braves and a 755 with Oakland.
I know, but don't you feel like he's just been hurt? Like the whole
time I will give Peter that he's been hurt one.
Yeah,
but
just be on the watch. Joey Bart. He's going to put up an OPS over 1,000 for the rest of the season. You heard it here
I'll
first.
be on the watch.
Just be on the watch.
We're officially on Bart watch.
I promised you we'd only do 2 minutes on this trade, and I think we're about at 120 seconds. That's all I wanted to say.
All right. No, we will be on Bart watch.
Bart watch.
We're officially on Bart watch, and Peter Apple, you're exactly right. We went 2.5 minutes on this one. Interesting thing before we get to the weekend preview here from Byron Buxton. Buxton again addresses trade rumors and the possibility of him leaving. Buxton said to Dan Hayes, who does great work for MLB.com, quote, "I don't give a F. End of the day, nobody's in my shoes. Nobody can say anything about what I'm going to do. I haven't said nothing about leaving, nor will I. I'm a Twin." This is what he said last year. Buxton has a no trade. This is what he said over the offseason. Buxton has a no trade. This is what he's saying at the deadline. Buxton has a no trade. It kind of sounds like Byron Buxton's going to be a Minnesota Twin, guys.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to talk about these quotes is I saw online a lot of people giving him shit. And Mike Trout has been in the same kind of bucket where, people say, you don't want to win. You don't want to do this. Why don't you just want to leave Minnesota and basically talk shit about your own team so they send you off to a contender? However, I believe that Byron Buxton not only loves Minnesota, the city, but also loves playing for the Minnesota Twins. And I don't feel like it's the same situation as Mike Trout with the Angels, where they've had almost zero postseason success. Byron Buxton has made it to the postseason multiple times with the Minnesota Twins. And outside of trading like a couple of relievers, they really haven't tore it down. And I'm sure, too, if Pablo Lopez hadn't gotten injured, this team is probably at 500. And an American League team at 500 is one of the best teams in the American League currently. So, again, he wants to win with the Minnesota Twins. He doesn't want to leave. And it's not like they are some garbage organization that can't do anything.
I agree.
So I just wanted to defend him with those comments from all the people chirping him online. I feel like it is totally unfair to go after him for being loyal to a team. It's almost like, can sports fans be happy about anything? A guy wants to be loyal and you shit on him. A guy is disloyal and wants to take the money and you shit on him. When don't you shit on him? Yeah. Byron Buxton wants to be a Minnesota Twin. They've won in the past. They don't have one of the worst teams in the American League. Like, why are people getting upset at him? I'm sure it's just fans of opposing teams who want him on their team.
Yeah.
By shitting on him?
Yeah. And also he's in a Peyton podcast. People put it perfectly too. Like, God forbid a human doesn't want to move their family across the country. Like, he's not 25. Like, he's got a life. He's rooted in Minnesota and he's happy there. And you can make the same case for Trout too. It's just Trout has been a victim of the worst organization ever, that I think it's a little bit different, or one of the most frustrating organizations. And it almost feels like Stockholm syndrome there. But like with the Buxton situation, I think he feels a lot of loyalty too, with the way that the Twins stuck by him through all the injuries. That contract that they gave him, huge upside for the Twins, but there was some inherent risk there as well. Yeah. But they guaranteed Buxton generational wealth, even with the inconsistencies of staying on the field. And he's done that. And I feel bad for Buxton, because at this point, like, he's just clearly tired of being asked about it. Every time he's about to go be an all-star, he's getting asked about it instead of just talking about being an all-star. So I think he's just trying to shut it down once and for all. And, I think for us now, we can probably shut it down once and for all. And just, unless a new report comes out, this guy doesn't want to get traded. So we'll do our part and stop putting him in mock trades too.
I do think that he would waive his no trade clause if the Twins traded everybody else, right? They sent off Joe Ryan. They sent off a ton of big pieces. And Byron Buxton is just looking at a barren wasteland and thinking, all right, there's literally nothing here anymore. But
that's not the case. They didn't do it last year. They're not going to do it this year.
Exactly. And I do think we should give some credit to the Twins. In Byron Buxton's career with Minnesota, they've made the playoffs 4 times.
That's actually not bad.
Yeah. That's not bad, right? Like, we're acting like this team is like the Angels, where Mike Trout has never won a playoff game. Yeah. Byron Buxton has won a bunch of playoff games with the Twins and is still playing well. And they are what? A game and a half out of the wild card?
Are they a game and a half out?
I know. It's insane. I posted it yesterday where I was like, maybe we should eliminate the third wild card spot in the American League. And then someone commented, one of these teams is going to be the ALCS. And I said 100%, because that's how baseball works. Yeah. So for people to be freaking out like this, I think it's the dumbest shit. Get off Buxton's back. He's totally fine. He wants to be a Twin. Relax.
One thing I wanted to throw into the fold real quick, just because it came across right before we started recording, was a quote from Mike Hazen. I love how he always says "I" when referring to the team.
It's
he
crazy.
Always says "I." What was the other one? It was, first of all, it's I'm planning on buying.
I want a lefty hitting first base corner outfielder.
I'm not trading Ketel Marte.
Yeah. I want a lefty. Yeah. Well, they're planning on buying, and I thought that was interesting. It's not overly shocking, I would say, because Hazen's, I think, underratedly one of the most aggressive executives that we've got in baseball. But saying it on June 19th, when you're 2 games over 500 and Corbin Burns just had a little bit of a setback and may not be back till September, I think was pretty crazy. Not crazy, but just pretty surprising. I love it. The more the merrier. And obviously for my take on them buying, or excuse me, them making the playoffs, it's exciting. But AJ Puck had a minor setback as well. Like, a lot of the reinforcements that were baked into my hypothesis of them making the playoffs are banged up right now, and it doesn't seem like Mike Hazen cares. So would be interesting to see a buying D-backs.
Absolutely.
They can swing. They can get weird at Chase. All right. Weekend preview, as always, presented by Pickett. Peter, tell us about it. Guide us through.
Yeah, so as you guys know, don't need no ad read because I use the Pickett Sports app every single day. Why? Because it helps me organize all of my bets into one place and it tracks it for me. And if you want to sync your own sports book and track your own plays and become a better gambler and always get the best lines for free, use code JUSTBASEBALL on Pickett. Because when you sync your sports book, you will get anywhere from $3 to $100 Venmo'd or PayPal to you directly. Yep. By just downloading this app and using promo code JustBaseball when you sync your sportsbook, you will win anywhere from $3 to $100. It's like a roulette wheel. You don't know if you get 3, you might get 8, you might get $64. You might get $100. So even if you're not into betting and you've only bet one time, sync your sportsbook, get a little bit of cash. But if you are a bettor, this is the best app because again, organize all your bets and you will always find the best line, which again adds up over time. And the great part about Pickett too is it will provide us the best lines for the best games of the weekend. So Podcast P, let's start with Friday's games. And we're going to start with an earlier one. This game might already be underway. The Blue Jays taking on the Cubs. Or I think it started like 10 minutes ago. You got Kevin Gausman taking on Ben Brown. Gentlemen, good pitching matchup. Ben Brown, Kevin Gausman. Jays just coming off a sweep of the Red Sox. Cubs are playing a little bit better baseball. Aram, where are you out on this one?
Ben Brown's like he's their guy right now. I think anytime Ben Brown's on the mound, you got to kind of go edge to them. But again, the Jays have been playing a little bit better. I'm not picking against Ben Brown right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think the Cubs win. Jack, what do you think?
Can't tell you, but Kevin Gausman, that 2-pitch mix will survive for 5 more years in the big leagues.
Yes, it will. All right, let's go to the next game on the slate. It's the Miz taking on the Atlanta Braves and Martin Perez. Slightly different velocities. But Aram, it's so funny. I noticed on BetMGM this morning that Jacob Mizorowski over 1.5 earned runs was plus 135. And I'm thinking the Braves at Truist have to score 2 runs at plus 135. You telling me there's like a 42% chance they scored 2 or more against the Miz, and the Braves are big favorites minus 160. He's getting priced right now. Do you remember when like we were talking about Skeens initially, like when he first came up and the books caught up to it? He was getting priced as the best pitcher in baseball. And then for a while there, Garrett Crochet was. The Miz, they are pricing him like prime DeGrom with the Mets.
Wow.
Even bigger than Skeens or Crochet or even Skubal. Like, these are enormous prices. You're telling me the Braves are a plus 150 dog at home? I know it's Martin Perez, but he's had a good year. I know the Brewers are great too, but I'm telling you, the Miz is getting prices that
it's crazy. I almost thought they'd be a heavier favorite, to be honest. I was surprised. I thought they might even be even heavier, but at the same time, I mean, you're playing one of the best teams in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
This is, even with just being Perez on the other side, who's been solid enough, I think this is, anytime Miz is on the mound now, like it's must-see TV, especially against a lineup like the Braves. It's going to be a fun battle.
Yeah, I do think the Brewers win. You just can't pick against him. But what I will say is, Brewers could still win, and he could go over 1.5 earned runs at plus 135. That's all. What if he goes 7 innings, 2 runs, 12 Ks? I mean, that's a great outing, and you won your bet. So that's at least a recommendation that I saw this morning. Anything on the Miz, Jack?
I've got him punching out 10.
I like that.
That's
all right,
my big one.
Let's go to Red Sox versus Mariners. Good pitching matchup. Ranger Suarez taking on Bryce Miller. And Bryce Miller has looked like the best, if not the second best pitcher in a loaded Mariners rotation. They're at home against a reeling Red Sox team. But Aram, as a bettor, you know that it's never always that easy. And I'm seeing basically a pick'em price here. But again, the Red Sox have just been mispriced. Like, they've been favorites against the Blue Jays, loss. And I feel like sometimes, especially with a big market like the Red Sox, good pitcher on the mound for the Red Sox, I'm still picking Seattle. Like, this Red Sox team stinks.
Yeah, I can't get behind it. I could understand. I could see something surprising happen. And Ranger has those days where, I mean, he can obviously just dial in and he's been throwing the ball pretty well. But with the way Miller looks right now, I will say that the Mariners offense has been touch and go still of late. It is nice to have Cal back, though. I got to go with the better team. And I still think that one of the hottest pitchers right now in baseball.
Yeah, I'm with you. You guys want to move over to Saturday's games?
Let's do it. Oh, actually, I would. One more note, though. Mariners, by the way, sneaky. Worst team in baseball versus left-handed pitching.
Ooh.
636 OPS versus left-handed pitching. I didn't realize that.
No wonder the total's 6.5.
Yeah.
Like the under might just be the play.
We got a pitcher's duel for sure.
Yeah.
Tough for Rob Refsnyder.
Negative
0.8
He was brought there to do one thing, and he's not doing it.
I love those platoon bats when they're brought to do one thing and they don't even do it. All right, let's get to Saturday's games. And obviously we don't have lines yet, but our friends at Ballpark Pal, which is, one of the best MLB models on the market, not only for their daily projections when it comes to games, totals, and player props. They have so many buttons to use to make you a better baseball better. But then on top of it, they have all these weather forecasts, so they can give you kind of how the weather is going to affect a game. For example, on Saturday, they're already ahead of it, projecting a -4% run environment at Truist Park. And so you're telling me the weather isn't going to be great in Atlanta, and it's Kyle Harrison taking on Chris Sale. Ballpark Pal right now makes the Braves slight favorites. And I have a rule. You don't go up against Kyle Harrison, and you don't go up against Chris Sale. So is it what's going on?
Whoa.
Dude, we've got fireworks going on in the back. That's that Tim Cook update.
Well-deserved fireworks for this matchup. Kyle Harrison taking on Chris Sale. I vote tie. Aram, do you think one team wins, or do you think it's just 0-0?
I think this is going to be an awesome pitcher's duel. I can't even give a prediction on that front. That's where I go back to okay, how are both teams performing against left-handed pitchers? Are they going to be any better in that regard? The Brewers do struggle against lefties more than the Braves do. The Braves are 10th in OPS. The Brewers are 21st. So that'll be the hair I split. I'll say the Braves get this one back.
And isn't it funny too? Ballpark Pal, -105. They split a hair. And they were like, it's clear Braves are a little bit better against lefties. Both these two pitchers are phenomenal. And at the end of the day, it is Sale at home. Yeah. Right? Brewers probably win today. Braves probably win tomorrow, thanks to our friends at Ballpark Pal. Let's keep moving through these Saturday games. Mets versus Phillies. Great pitchers matchup. We got Freddie Peralta taking on Christopher Sanchez at the bank, and Ballpark Pal makes the -192, basically giving them close to like a 65% chance of winning, which makes sense. Christopher Sanchez at home against this Mets team. Freddie Peralta is a great pitcher, but he just doesn't stand up to Christopher Sanchez. To me, easy Phillies.
Yeah, you got to. The Mets, I think, have been competing. They look good. Obviously, it took the first game, but I can't go against Christopher Sanchez, even in looking a little bit more human in this last couple outings. At home this year, just in case people didn't realize, Christopher Sanchez is 5-1 with a .90 ERA in 9 starts. That's 60 innings of 6 earned runs. I'm that guy. You can never pick against him at home. There's no way.
Yeah. I think we're all aligned there. All right. Next game up, another good one. Trevor Rogers taking on Yoshinobu Yamamoto. The Orioles against the Dodgers at 10:10 p.m. Eastern. And another huge favorite, according to Ballpark Pal, which I was a little bit surprised about. But then I keep remembering that Yamamoto, it does feel like he's throwing near a no-hitter or perfect game every month. But I have liked what I've seen from Trevor Rogers recently. But at the end of the day, it is the Dodgers at home with Yamamoto. It's kind of a similar story where the Mets have been playing a little bit better. The Orioles have been playing okay. Peralta looks good. Trevor Rogers looks good. But you just don't step in front of a Yamamoto at home or a Sanchez at home. Give me the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm with you. Trevor Rogers' last 3 starts, maybe even 4, have been good. But this is a tough spot to make it 5 straight. So I got to go with Yoshi the way he's throwing the ball right now.
Real quick, Yamamoto in his last 5 starts, 4-1 and 35 2/3 innings, 17 hits and 4 runs against him in his last 35 2/3.
17 hits?
17 hits and 35 and 2/3 innings.
He's
That's
so
stupid.
freaking good. All right, let's move to Sunday's games. Another good one, I think. Well, Justin Verlander is making his return against Davis Martin. But what shocked me is this Ballpark Pal projection. Look at that, Aram. The Tigers are projected to be minus 125 against the White Sox and Davis Martin. Now, Martin in his last start, not as good. But Verlander has done nothing to tell me that he should be a favorite at all, especially against this White Sox team. This is going to be the first time where I vehemently disagree with Ballpark Pal, and I'm going with the White Sox.
Yeah, I can't figure out Davis Martin. Obviously, he's improved to become a solid pitcher. We haven't seen a ton of rehab. Like, we saw 2 appearances from Verlander where he looked fine. I think he looked like he could be an effective 4 or 5 starter. But just what Davis Martin are you getting is the question. I feel like it's 6 earned of late. The last month or so, it's been 6 earned and then 6 shutout and then 9 earned and then a better one. I don't know, but I think in totality, Davis Martin has been slowing down, and I think that might be what Ballpark Pals are looking at. I'm gonna go out on a limb and I say bombs away again against Davis Martin, and the Tigers take it.
The more I think about it too, when would Verlander's arm be the freshest? This start at home. Yeah. So I get it, right? Because these older guys, it's almost like when the younger guys come back from injury, they don't really know how to adjust as much, and they kind of get bombed. But it does feel like the older the pitcher is, the more experience that they have, right? The Wheelers, the Coles, when they come back from injury, they look like they're at their best. So this could be one of Verlander's best starts. I'm actually going to trust our friends at Ballpark Pal. Give me the Tigers as well. I've completely switched over. All right, next game up, another good pitching matchup, I think, or it could be bombs away depending on the wind. Dylan Cease taking on Shota Imanaga at Wrigley. But this one will be interesting because our friends at Ballpark Pal, negative 20%, which means wind blowing in. Shota doesn't have to worry about the wind blowing out and giving up homers. But I think Dylan Cease in that run environment against a Cubs offense that hasn't fully clicked yet, I'm taking. I mean, I still have a ticket out on Dylan Cease, 12-1 to win Cy Young. It ain't over yet.
Amazing reminder from our editorial team today that Dylan Cease has yet to make an all-star team. He got $200 million.
I didn't know
he'd been an all-star.
That's crazy. The home run problem for Cease this year has not been there. Not that it's ever been a major problem, but 21 homers last year. He's given up 5 in 13 starts this year. So with the way he's missing bats and the way he's keeping the ball in the yard, I think environment doesn't affect him nearly as much as it would affect a Shota Imanaga. And you said Ballpark Pass expected it to blow out.
No, blow in.
Oh, blow in.
Minus 20% run projection.
Ooh. There goes that theory.
Shota can
under.
Feel.
Under.
Yeah, I don't mind the under either.
That's all I got.
I'm taking the Jays in that one. And last game for our weekend preview, another great pitchers matchup. Peyton Tolley of the Boston Red Sox taking on Logan Gilbert of the Seattle Mariners. And it is funny to see Ballpark Pal making the Mariners huge favorites once again. I feel like Ballpark Pal is making a stance with this one. The Mariners are just way better than the Boston Red Sox because Peyton Tolley has been a fantastic pitcher this season. And Logan Gilbert has been as well, but a minus 170 line implying a 62.9% chance of winning. I kind of agree with them. I'm going to take Seattle. Aram, what do you think?
I think Tolley shoves.
Okay.
And especially with the challenges they have against lefties. This is a tough lefty. If you have challenges against lefties, Tolley's been really solid this year, as you mentioned. I'm gonna go with the Red Sox. They salvage.
They got to steal one, so yeah. I could see this one happening. So yes, that is the weekend preview. Make sure to download the Pickett Sports app and use promo code JustBaseball. Sync your sportsbook. You'll win anywhere from $3 to $100. And go check out our friends at Ballpark Pal for the best MLB projections out there.
I love it. I think